Hello, the books I've chosen for my book talk today are Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling. This book is a fantasy book and the theme is coming of age. A brief summary of this novel would be that it is the fourth book of a series that explores Harry's journey of growing up in a wizarding world. Harry attends Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and in this particular year they are hosting a tournament against three schools of magic. Students from each school above the age of 17 may enter their name into the Goblet of Fire. A single student from each school will be selected to participate in this advanced and dangerous competition, and in turn they have a chance at eternal flame and glory. Although Harry is not old enough to enter, his name is mysteriously pulled to be an additional fourth entry into the tournament, and he is forced to compete. Harry and his best friends Ron and Hermione enter this novel as children and end the story as young adults. You see these characters experiencing their first love and heartache as they attend their first school dance called the Yule Ball. They all mature both physically and socially as they are now being faced with large issues such as the Dark Wizard Voldemort returning to power. Harry is confronted with life and death situations and must figure out how to handle the responsibility of being the chosen one, not only in the Triwizard Tournament, but also in bearing the weight of being the only wizard capable of defeating Lord Voldemort. I personally highly recommend this book to others. Harry Potter is a series that grows with the reader. The first books begin in a very innocent and childlike setting, and as children get older and begin to come of age, the later Harry Potter books highlight the struggles teenagers experience, such as responsibility and love. And if you do enjoy reading this series, another series I would recommend would be the Divergent or the Hunger Games series. I relate to Harry personally in this book because he was forced into something at a young age, and I was also at a young age forced to grow up fast and work on a farm at a young age. The second book I chose to review is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. This is a science fiction, or you could say dystopian novel. A brief summary is that the Hunger Games take place in the future where the government has been overthrown and 12 districts have been put in place. Each district is responsible for supplying the capital with different resources such as coal. In District 12, the very poor district where the main character Katniss Everdeen lives. To remind each district of a war that occurred where the capital beats the districts, there is a tournament called the Hunger Games each year. A male and a female between the ages of 12 and 18 are selected from each district, and they are placed into an arena where they will compete to the death. This story explores the journey of a 16-year-old Katniss. She is already a fairly responsible teen as she is the oldest daughter to a single mom. Katniss and her friend Gale have learned how to illegally hunt to provide for their families. On the day of the reaping, Katniss's 12-year-old sister Prim is selected to compete. Katniss decides to volunteer herself to tribute instead of her sister for the games. She is joined alongside by one of her classmates, Peeta Mellark. Throughout the story, you begin to see the struggles Katniss faces, such as seeing how much inequality is present in the districts during her time visiting the capital, falling in love, and dealing with how others perceive you. I would highly recommend this book to young adults. I think that it shows how when you come of age you are forced to deal with many new challenges. Although most people are not in as extreme scenario as Katniss, most teenagers still need to learn how to do things such as help provide for their families, deal with love and loss, and figure out how to be themselves and cannot be concerned with what others think. I can relate to Katniss because she tends to underestimate herself quite often, and I think that I tend to do that as well. If you enjoyed these books, another series I would recommend would be the Maze Runner books. The third book I decided to review was The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. This book is a romance novel. The Fault in Our Stars is a story of Hazel Grace Lancaster and Augustus Waters. Hazel is a 17-year-old girl with a thyroid cancer that has now spread to her lungs. Augustus had osteochondroma but had his legs amputated and is now cancer-free. The two met in a support group and almost instantly clicked. The only issue is that Hazel is a very sick girl who's inevitably going to die. They bond over Hazel's favorite book, An Imperial Affliction. Hazel says this book most accurately describes what her life is like, but has some unanswered questions, such as the main character of the story's parents right after she passes. Gus is able to track down the author in Amsterdam and invites the two of them to stop by if they are ever in town. During Hazel's search for answers, she is forced to grow up incredibly fast and deal with things beyond her age. Throughout the book, you get to watch Hazel and Augustus experience life, love, and loss for the first time. I would recommend this book to all young adults. During young adulthood, most people experience many of the same firsts that Hazel does. I think that this is relatable to hear what Hazel experiences during her first relationship. This is also, unfortunately, around the age where most people experience the first loss of someone close to them. Watching the characters experiencing these things and growing up can be great for a lot of people. If you enjoyed this book, John Green has written numerous books such as Paper Towns or Looking for Alaska that I think you would also enjoy. This book relates to me personally on a pretty deep level because my grandma was very, very sick with cancer when I was at a young age. And it just I don't know, that just has a big impact on me.